Okay, this should be the last video in this series. The graph of A models the area in square feet of a rectangular porch with length 0.56 W, less than 28 feet given a width of W feet. So length equals 28 minus 0.56 W, because the length is 0.56 W less, so I have to take 0.56 W away, than 28 feet given a width of W feet. Now we're talking about an area of a rectangular porch, so that means I'm going to be doing length times width, and that means I've got a quadratic here of W times 28 minus 0.56 W. Using substitution, this is my length. Substitute in the length, multiply by the width, and I get negative 0.56 W squared plus 28 W. And we may or may not need this equation, where Y would be the area. But there it is. Based on the graph, what is the width in feet of the porch with the greatest area? So this really isn't going to be necessary. They just want to know what the maximum is. What width produces the greatest area? Here's the area. I get an area of 350 feet when the width is 25 feet. So again, this right here is probably a 6th grade question. It has almost nothing to do with algebra. It's more about, can you read a graph properly? The context is algebraic. We've got an equation, we've got a quadratic or parabola, but the question itself is just about identifying the maximum by looking at a graph. What is the width in feet of the porch with the greatest area? Greatest area, 350, width, 25. Okay, 45 looks like systems of equations. The owner of a clothing store buys t-shirts for C dollars each and sells them for P dollars each. Last month, she bought 600 t-shirts and sold 500 of them to make a profit of $2,800. Okay, probably an equation to write there. This month, she bought 400 t-shirts and sold them all and made a profit of $2,400. Which systems of equations can be used to determine the values of C and P? Last month, she bought 600 t-shirts. Now, C is the dollars she buys. So C is how much she spends for a t-shirt, and P is how much money she makes per t-shirt. So last month she bought 600 t-shirts, so 600 times C, and then she sold 500 of them for a profit of $2,800. So I'm thinking this is my first equation, though I might come back and rewrite it. This month she bought 400 and then she sold them all for a profit of $2,400. Now this is just my first guess. I'm not totally confident. I'm not totally confident in this. And clearly mine doesn't match A, B, C, or D. So let's really look at the language and see if we can write good equations. I think it's going to be A, and I think I've got things backwards here. the profit on 500 shirts is going to be what's left over after you take away the cost of selling, the cost of buying 600. So this is how much money I made from selling the shirts. This much for 500 shirts. But to find my profit, I need to take away the cost of buying 600 shirts. So, first thought is close but wrong. And the corresponding equation should be this. So I'm saying the answer is A. I think C and D are clearly wrong because this is the cost of only one shirt and she sold all 400. Buying t-shirts is C dollars, selling them is P. You make money from what you sell, you take away how much it cost you so that you could sell them, and what's left over is the profit. I'm sticking with A, though that is quite the tricky question. It really requires close reading and making good connections between the statements in the problem and your ability to write equations that match the problem. B is definitely wrong because this equation is saying we sold more than we purchased. You can't sell more than you purchased. Okay, functions, pretty straight away. Which representation does not show y as a function of x? This one is fine. There are no repeated x values. -1, 0, 2, 7. No repeated x values. Here's the problem. J is not a function because it fails the vertical line test multiple times. Pass a vertical line through any 2 points at once and you are dealing with a non-function. No repeated x values, H is fine. Repeated y, no problem. Quadratic has got repeated y values. Here's repeated y values. It's still a function because each input has one and only one output. 47. The graph below shows the relationship between the number of gallons of fuel remaining in a truck and the number of hours the truck has been driven. So, the longer I drive, the less fuel there is in the truck. My slope is negative. My y-intercept is 200. And this looks like my slope is exactly -20 divided by 2. So my slope is, I'm going to lose 10 gallons of fuel per hour. But the question is about the x-intercept. This is the moment, the time index. After 20 hours, there is no fuel left in the tank. So let's find an answer choice that matches that. Before driving occurred, that is the y-intercept up here. The number of hours the truck was driven before running out of fuel, that looks to be correct. The number of gallons of fuel the truck can hold, that's another way to talk about the y-intercept. The number of hours required to use 1 gallon of fuel, this is the slope. We're being asked about the x-intercept or the 0, which makes B the correct answer choice. 48. Given this quadratic and this quadratic, f of x and g of x, which statement is true? Okay, so if I plug in -2, will I get the same thing as if I plug in -3? We could solve that algebraically. We could say f of -2, -2 minus 3 squared plus 4, is that equal to plugging in -3 for, oh, this isn't quadratic, this is cubic. Interesting. Be sure you use parentheses. -3 squared plus 2. Are those values equal? -2 minus 3 is -5, Negative 5 squared is 25. 25 plus 4 is 29. Negative 3 squared is 27, but it's negative 27. Plus 2 is going to be negative 25. If you don't believe me on that, be sure by going to the calculator, and when you square or cube negative 3, you be sure you put that in parentheses. If you don't enclose the negative 3 in parentheses, you're going to have a bad time because you're going to get the wrong answer. This is function evaluation. This is f of x equals x minus 3 squared plus 4. What happens when I plug in 8? F of 8 equals 8 minus 3 squared plus 4. 8 minus 3 is 5. So 5 squared plus 4, that's going to be 29. Now, let's take the function g. Plug in 3 and see if we get the same value. G of 3 equals 3 cubed plus 2. 3 cubed is 27. 27 plus 2 is 29. So when I evaluate function f at 8, I get 29. When I evaluate function g at 3, I also get 29. So f of 8 is equal to g of 3. Let's go ahead and continue working this problem to show why g and j are not correct. F of 0 would be 0 minus 3 squared plus 4. 0 minus 3 is negative 3. Squared is 9. Plus 4 is 13. G of negative 1. Input negative 1 into function g. G of negative 1 equals negative 1 cubed plus 2. Negative 1 cubed is still negative 1, plus 2 is positive 1. These two values are not the same, so g is not correct. J. Evaluate f at 2. F of 2 is 2 minus 3 squared plus 4. 2 minus 3 is negative 1, squared is positive 1, plus 4 is 5. G of 1. Evaluate function g at 1. 1 cubed plus 2. 1 cubed is 1, plus 2 is 3. 3 and 5 are not the same value, so f of 2 does not equal g of 1. Okay, there we go. Which graph represents the inequality? Alrighty, well, for starters, because it's or equal to, I'm going to rule out answer choice A and answer choice D. If it's a solid complete line or a solid complete dot for that matter, we know we are being inclusive, we are including the value, we have an or equal to. Now all I need to do is determine if I'm shading above or below, and I think the best way to do that would be to solve this equation for slope-intercept form. Add 2x to both sides. (7y) is less than or equal to 112 plus 2x. Adding 2x, adding or subtracting from both sides does not change the inequality direction. Dividing by a positive number does not change the inequality direction. So our answer here would be 2/7 x, and 112 divided by 7 is plus 16. So we want a y-intercept of 16, a slope of 2/7, and shading below the line, because y is less than or equal to this equation. Shading below the line tells me that this C is definitely right. Both have a y-intercept of 16. Both look like they have a slope of 2/7, but only C is shaded below the line. So solve for slope-intercept form. Be mindful of whether or not you need to change the direction of the sign. And remember that or equal to means solid. Strictly less than or strictly greater than would mean dashed. Home stretch. 50. If the value of x varies inversely, if the value of y varies inversely with x, which function represents the relationship between x and y, given these two values? So, varies inversely, y equals k divided by x. In other words, x times y equals k, which means my constant of variation should be 3 times 48, which is 144. So k equals 144. Direct variation, x times y, will always produce the same value. So we can lop off g and h. We can go back here. Where was k? K is on top. The formula for inverse variation is y equals k over x. So the constant of variation should be on top, and we can lop off j. Now, notice that does not come up on our formula chart. Its closest relative here is slope-intercept form. We have direct variation, where instead of m, we say y equals kx. And we have inverse variation, where y equals k divided by x. So either I multiply by something constant, or I divide into something constant. (51) Function k has a parent function. The table shows ordered pairs that belong to k. Which graph shows the parent function? Well, I haven't been told if it's linear, quadratic, exponential, or other. But I still wonder if I can use the calculator's stat feature to help me figure it out. -4, -3, -1, 1, and 2. 20, 13, 5, 5, and 8. Notice a couple of things here. Maybe we really don't need the calculator, because seeing this double 5 just clued me into something. We are decreasing 20, 13, 5. There's going to be a minimum right here. Then we're increasing to 5, and then increasing back to 8. So we are decreasing and then increasing. So that rules out A. It's almost certainly going to be B, because we are decreasing and then increasing. Here we are only decreasing and then flattening out, but we're still gradually decreasing towards 0. So that's nonstop decrease. Here we are decreasing and then decreasing really fast. And then we jump back up here and we're still decreasing, and then we start to decrease very slowly. So because we go decrease, decrease, increase, decrease to increase, it is almost certainly going to be a quadratic function. This is 1 over x, and we don't really study that outside in Algebra 1, with the possible exception of direct variation. This is what y equals kx looks like when k is 1. but that's not something we spend a lot of time with, so we can probably throw that one out just because it's unfamiliar. But it is the fact that as x increases, y decreases and then increases. That tells us we have something that's decreasing and then increasing. System of equation, and this one has been positioned for you to solve by elimination. I'm going to scale the top equation up by 3. So that will be 12x minus 21y equals negative 6. I did that because I want to cancel out the x term. 12x minus 21y, equals negative 42. Subtract these two equations. 12x minus 12x is 0x. Negative 21 minus negative 21. Subtract the negative, it becomes positive. So that's going to be plus or minus 0y equals negative 6 minus negative 42. That's going to be positive 36. 0x plus 0y just equals 0. 0 does not equal 36. These are parallel lines. They have no solutions because they never intersect, because 0 is not equal to 36. Another way we could do this is we could convert both to slope-intercept form. Subtract 4x from both sides and you get negative 7y equals negative 4x minus 2. Divide both sides by negative 7. Y equals positive 4/7 x plus 2/7. Same thing here. Subtract 12x and you get negative 21y equals negative 12x minus 42. Divide every term by negative 21, you get y equals positive 12 over 21x plus 42 over 21, and then we simplify. 21 goes into 42 twice. 21 and 12 is a fraction that is reducible. 12 and 21 are both divisible. Well, they're both divisible by 3. 12 goes into 3, or 3 goes into 12 4 times. 3 goes into 21 7 times. Our slope 4/7. We have the same slope, but different y-intercepts. Those are parallel lines. And you can view that with the graphing calculator. 4/7 x plus 2/7 and 4/7 x plus 2. Graph those. Same slope, different y-intercept, parallel lines, no solution. '53. The graphs show the cost of attending a county fair on Thursday and on Saturday and paying X games each day. Based on the graphs, which statement is true? The cost of each game on Thursday is 50 cents less than the cost of each game on Saturday. It definitely looks like it's cheaper to play games on Thursday than on Saturday, so that's a maybe. A person who spent $4 more to attend the fair and play 6 games on Saturday than on Thursday. So our y-intercept is supposedly $4 greater on Saturday than it is on Thursday. Well, wait a minute. That's not a question of y-intercept. That's a question of 6 games. 6 games is going to be $23 here. 6 games is going to be $19 here. So that looks true. You're spending $4 more to play 6 games on Thursday or on Saturday than you are on Thursday. The cost of each game on Saturday is $2 less than the cost of each game on Thursday. Well, let's see. That does not seem to be true. There's 1 point right here. Well, maybe. 7 games, you pay what looks like $20 or $21. 7 games, you pay what looks like $25 or a little more. Don't think C is right. A person who spends $3 more to attend the fair and play 5 games on Thursday than on Saturday. So on Thursday, for 5 games, you're going to pay less on Thursday than you are on Saturday. So that's definitely not true. And here, the cost of the games on Thursday is actually $2 more than the cost of each game on Saturday. Certainly for 4 games, you pay $16. For 4 games, you pay $18. I think B is the only one here that makes sense. That's my answer, and I'm sticking to it. Okay, this looks like a list of discrete domains and ranges. The Student Council sent its members on 4 field trips during the school year. The number of buses needed to transport the members on each trip is a function of the number of members. So buses is a function of members. B of M equals some function. Members is independent, buses is dependent because the number of buses depends on the number of members. The function consists only of the ordered pairs given in the problem. What is the domain? Domain is about the independent, the number of members. So I can get rid of G and I can get rid of J. J has combined the domain and the range together. G is the range, the number of buses, and F is only half of the domain. So 52, 72, 86, 105, those are my X values. That makes H the correct answer for my domain. Whew, that's it. We're done. I hope you found that helpful. I hope you watched it all. If you did watch all these videos, write that word, those 2 words, on a quiz that I give you probably on Thursday, or maybe on Monday, I don't know, or come in and whisper them to me. And I will produce for you some form of extra credit because you have persevered all the way to the end of the final video.